Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of the 4J's here at Utica TV. I'm your host, James Brown, and today we've got a lot of topics to discuss. But before we get there, let's go around the table and introduce ourselves, starting with you, Mr. Justin Notar.
My name is Justin Notar. I'm a sophomore here at Utica University. I'm on the baseball team. I'm from Long Island, and everybody here calls me just Notar.
I'll go next. I'm Jeremy Horowitz, also from Long Island. I'm a senior, so graduating this upcoming May. I'm also on the baseball team. Though they don't call me Justin Notar. And it's a pleasure to be here with my friends on this lovely first edition of the 4J show.
Well, I briefly introduced myself to you guys, but I am James Brown. I am a senior here at Utica University. Formerly played for the football team here for my first 3 years. And fun fact is I went snowboarding this past weekend for the first time, and it wasn't too fun. It was fun, but my body's definitely not feeling the best.
It was washed up.
I don't think I'm allowed to go snowboarding after my snowboarding experience last year. My name is Jack Rathburn. I'm on the track team. I'm a junior. I'm also part of the sports program out here, doing all the same things that these guys are doing. Very excited about the show.
Awesome. Yeah, real exciting week. Starting with men's basketball, I mean, you got to talk about Dayion Thompson's game winner in overtime with less than a second to go. For those of you guys that missed this, we got to play it for you. You guys got to watch this, and I'm sure everybody here is going to enjoy watching this again. So let's play it.
Dayion Thompson, you are a Utica hero.
Thompson for the win! Oh my goodness! As the clock hits 0, Dayion Thompson puts this night to rest.
As you guys can hear, me and Justin were absolutely losing our minds. Dayion Thompson, 34 points, 2 rebounds, and 0 assists. A typical Kobe-type game, guys. What do we think of that game? It was insane.
Well, I mean, Dayion Thompson the entire game wanted the ball in his hands, especially when it was coming down the stretch in overtime. You saw Hartwick tie it on a tip-in shot, and Dayion immediately called for the ball. You knew he was taking that last shot. Dayion Thompson just ice in his veins. Kobe game, we talked about this before. No assists and 34 points. That was his night and his night only, and it was a big win for the Pioneers and all in his favor.
Yeah, absolutely. 11 for 18 from the field, 61%. Also 6 for 9 from beyond the arc, 66%. Season highs in every shooting statistic from points, minutes, field goals attempted, field goals made from both the field and the three-point line. Just incredible game.
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch the game. I had practice, but I listened to the call back after Doug Croft actually mentioned it in the WPNR sports group chat. I mean, you guys on the call were great. I mean, the shot itself, obviously amazing. I thought it was pretty cool in the highlight. Seeing the herd in the background. We actually got to hear from AD Dave Fontaine last night in class talking about how much he loves the herd, and I just thought it was funny how it came up on the clip there. But the basketball team here, it's definitely a different season. Obviously, you know, Justice Brantley, that was kind of the guy to lean on last year in the past couple years of the program. But now, obviously, Dayion Thompson stepping up, being the guy, as we saw this past weekend, dropping 30-plus points, and obviously hitting the outstanding game winner.
Yeah, I wasn't able to go to the game either. I was calling the women's game before that, which I know we're going to talk about in a second, which I'm excited about. But again, that video is awesome. Kind of see the energy. And Hagen Foley, obviously, like especially I think at like a college level, you kind of want to be the guy that takes that shot. But to be able to pass it off, find Dayion, obviously, it was a better shot opportunity. It's awesome to see that kind of play happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this team's really came to their own. They had a bit of a tough stretch, like during winter break, where they lost, I believe, they were like 1-4 during that span. It wasn't great, but they've really caught fire, especially Dayion. Last 3 games, 28 points per game, 53% shooting percentage from the field, 62 from 3. And on the season before this time, he was like 40% from the field, 35 from 3. Not great numbers, but he's really caught fire at the right time.
Yeah, and I had a chance to catch up with him before the season in an interview, and this is a guy that had a season-ending injury in his sophomore campaign, and that really broke him. He's a guy that since freshman year has had a huge impact on this team, and he told me his goal is to make the Final Four or Elite Eight. I'm not sure which one, but I mean, him playing like that, it gives you a much better chance to win the basketball game.
Yeah, so that's a great point. I sometimes forget that he had a torn ACL last year because he just is such a freak athletically, and it doesn't seem like he's a torn ACL. But that's actually a great point, like why he kind of started out a little slower, kind of feeling out how it was getting back with like a torn ACL. It's definitely a tough injury to come back from, but he's definitely done it. Yeah. Let's keep talking men's basketball. Moving on from this great game from Dayion. Although the Pioneers were riding a 4-game win streak heading into last night's game versus SUNY Poly, the Pioneers fell to the Wildcats 92-76. Justin, you were on the call. What led to the Pioneers' win streak getting broken?
Damar Miller of the Poly Wildcats, I mean, he was electric from three. He made 7 out of his 9 3-point attempts. He had 29 points, I'm pretty sure. And Dayion Thompson himself, once again, had a great game. But Poly wouldn't miss. And Utica, it felt like whenever they would crawl back, Poly would just respond. And Utica just couldn't get the stop they needed. And you got to think, with a team like this that's well coached by Coach Sean Coffey, they're going to come back and they're going to bounce back from this loss. 2 big games this weekend. But Poly, they couldn't stop Poly when they needed to, and it really, Poly scored 90 points on them. So definitely going to be an interesting thing to see how they adjust defensively in their upcoming games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was taking a look at the stat sheet, obviously I was listening a little bit. I had class, but I was able to catch a little bit of the game. The Wildcats, they shot just under 60% from the field. An incredible 14 for 26 from 3, 53%. And the Pioneers, they've been a great defense. They usually play a lot of man-to-man. Spina's a great guard up front. So is Thompson. He has like 25 steals. He's averaging like a steal a game. They're a good defensive team. Great defensive team. Averaging only allowing opponents like 70 points per game. But Poly they were getting open shots and they weren't missing.
Yeah, 100%. And that's how Poly scores. Poly scores a lot from the 3 ball, and they definitely showed it last night. They also looked a little mismatched on some ends. Damian Call, he had another good game. He was using his floaters, backing down Anthony Rose of Poly. But Utica's just got to do a better job defensively. As you said, they're usually a better defensive team. And you got to expect a team, as I said before, that's well coached to bounce back from this and reset their minds. And they have 2 big games coming up this weekend. So definitely got to be a quick turnaround.
And a couple of the games this week are actually going to be pretty interesting to watch because obviously St. John Fisher, Big Cozy, kind of one of the viral sensations online, might draw a crowd, and that might bring some more energy. Talking about the herd, kind of what that does for this team, bring some energy, kind of get the guys going for hopefully a big game for them.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to go around and ask you guys, do you think, with that win, they would have gotten 3rd place? Poly sits 3rd in the 8 now. Pioneers sit 5th. Like, are you guys panicking at all? You guys feel like they were still in a good spot? They were coming off a 4-game win streak. So you guys think like this loss is really big? Or?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you can't win them all. And Poly's, new to the conference, and we know obviously what type of offense they bring. They put up 100 points last night. So that just happens, Sometimes the other teams, it seems like they don't miss. So, I think you go back in the locker room, talk about it, figure out what you did wrong, figure you can improve on, and head into the weekend. You have 2 big conference games coming up, especially like Jack mentioned, welcoming Big Cozy into Mika Court. Like that's a prime time match. The kid's an internet sensation, so I think that's going to get the Pioneers ready to go. Any game against Fisher in any sport here on campus is a big game, especially basketball.
I think it's going to kind of be like a testament to like what the team's capable of doing because kind of obviously last year, super successful season, winning the conference. Now you're coming in and not being as successful as you were. Still a pretty successful season, a winning record, but kind of going at this point of the season is going to kind of be a testament to what this team does and how they're overcoming resilience.
Yeah, and I think that this conference is really competitive, especially with the additions of Brockport and Poly. The Empire 8 is just getting better and better as the years go on. And Jeremy mentioned, Justice Brantley, definitely not, it's not an easy fix to move on without a guy like that who was your go-to. But Dayion Thompson has stepped up. Hagen Foley shooting at an exceptional percentage, and Call is also having himself a year. I think with those 3, and then you have a couple of other guys. The two freshmen, Isaiah Smith and Jordan Kane, they've stepped up and they've played well as freshmen. I think this is a team that will figure it out, and they will be competing for an Empire 8 championship in February.
I was going to talk about Isaiah Smith as well. You were talking about Levi Spina, kind of these defensive guys, kind of the undersized guys, but they're quick and they're able to get back defensively, even show off the handles, shifty, get to the basket. Like they're really, especially Isaiah Smith as a freshman, really making an impact on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be interesting to see how the men's team finishes. 11-6 right now. 2 big games that we'll talk about a little later. But let's transition over to the women's side. Women's basketball got their first win in conference this weekend versus Hartwick. Jack, you were on the game. What led to the ladies having so much success versus the Hawks?
It was honestly a pretty fun game to watch. Not a super successful season in general for the women's team so far this year. But I think Vanessa Hall is obviously the biggest name that we talk about when we talk about the women's team. And I think Hartwick knew that going into this game. They were pretty heavily guarding Vanessa Hall the whole game, and that allowed the other players that are capable of going off, of being able to do that. Mackenzie Simmons being the biggest one in this game, put up a season high, I want to say 25 points, don't quote me on that. But they're really able to show that there is some depth in this team. It's not just one player doing all the work, but again, Vanessa Hall is still an incredible player. But the Hartwick team was definitely a really good fight. I think it was the perfect opponent for the Pioneers to play at this point in the season.
Yeah, I think Utica, especially the women's side, they only stand 3-15, but they're a team that they have a lot of good identities to themselves. When I've watched and I've been able to call a lot of the games, gratefully, but they do a lot of this. They try and get the ball to Vanessa Hall a lot. They try and get her in the post, and then they try and find the open lady on the three-point line. And sometimes they're able to do it, but sometimes it leads to a turnover. It's kind of been that, either it goes really well or it doesn't. So, I feel like they looked really great. It was a big win, and I think if they can get back to that identity, like I said, a lot of teams, you even watch it at the higher level in the NBA, a lot of teams like to work the ball in the post and get it out to the perimeter. It's just they got to be better shooting from the three-point line.
I definitely agree with what you were saying about Vanessa Hall. They're trying to get it to her, and I think especially against Hartwick, they were trying to do it when it wasn't available. They've got 2 defenders on her. Try and find someone else. You've got players that are capable of making plays. You don't want to try and give it to Vanessa Hall if it's going to lead to a pretty easy turnover, intercepted pass, steal, whatever it might be. You got to know that you've got other players capable of shooting, getting to the basket, whatever that might be.
Yeah, one of those players definitely Mackenzie Simmons. I feel like she's a great player, especially does a great job getting the rim. We were talking about that earlier. You were raving about how good Simmons is, right?
Yeah, Mackenzie Simmons is an all-around player. She leads the team in a bunch of statistics, including rebounds, steals, blocks. So she's doing it on both ends. And her, along with Vanessa Hall, they have good identity on the offense. Vanessa Hall maybe just a bit better of a scorer, but Mackenzie Simmons all around, just leading the team in a bunch of numbers. And she's had herself a year. Shooting percentage is just a little bit down, but she has herself a good jump shot. And when she can get going, she can definitely change the game. And for last night, I think what Utica needed to do better, they were playing a 2-3 zone, and we talked about it, how Vanessa Hall is in the post, they work around that. And that's what Polly was doing, and they were breaking down Utica's 2-3 zone very well. And Vanessa Hall was in the middle, and she couldn't step up and then give the baseline behind her. So it was leading to a bunch of wide open mid-ranges, and they didn't really make the adjustment to the 2-3 zone that they needed to make. And it was a heartbreaking loss for them. And you got to, feel for them after that. Coming off of the win against Hartwick, they needed that one, but didn't get that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little later when we preview their upcoming games this weekend. But what do you think is one thing? Obviously, both of you guys called women's games last week. What do you think is one thing that they could take away from both the win and the loss that they can work for to try and get 2 big wins in conference this weekend?
I think defense is going to be the name of the game. They're going to have to focus on. They were able to kind of show what they're capable of against Hartwick. Grace Durkin, I think her name was a really good scorer for Hartwick, and she was able to do a lot. Didn't have the best game, but again, still a very consistent player. And I think they showed what they're capable of defensively, but they're going to have to do that against better teams if they want any chance of getting some more wins in that slot.
Yeah, they're also going to have to keep the ball with themselves. They turn over the ball a good amount when they face pressure, and obviously turnovers leads to points on the other end. But a big thing yesterday, SUNY Poly was getting a lot of offensive rebounds, and second chance opportunities are a big thing in basketball. And when you are getting a stop and then you give them the ball right back, and it's not a one-and-done situation. Poly keeps getting themselves second chance opportunities, and they were converting on them. And Utica, in a tight game, the one thing you want to do is definitely grab a defensive rebound. Offensive rebounds can kill you, and it's what made Utica lose the game last night.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We'll preview those games later, but let's move from the hardwood down onto the ice. The men's hockey team got a big sweep versus Nazareth to extend their win streak to 5. How do we feel about their performance in this series?
I think this is where I step in, kind of take the reins. I haven't called many basketball games. I don't even think I called one. I think I'm calling one this weekend. But calling a lot of men's hockey this year with Ray. It's been a great time. Obviously, learned a lot from him. I wasn't able to call the game on Thursday, and obviously they were away on Saturday. But my biggest takeaway from this men's team this year is that first line. Drake Morris, Jacob Bro, and Johnny Malera. Malera played D1 hockey a couple years ago at Maine. He was the captain at Salve Regina. Now he's here for, I believe, his grad year. And that first line has been fantastic for the Pioneers this year. Looking at the box score right now from Thursday night at home, Drake Morris with 2 goals. Jacob Bro with a goal. Brian Scoville, the captain, with a goal. It's the same names continually putting in work night in, night out, and they're finding ways to win. Obviously, this is a Pioneer program who has been loaded with great players over the past X amount of years. When I was recruited here, the big thing was hockey and how good this hockey team is, how great the program is, and we see it unfold night in, night out every single weekend. 9-1-1 in the conference, 13-2-1 overall. And then moving into Saturday night's game on the road, only a 2-1 win, but finding ways to do it again. Jacob Bro in the third period, netting what would be the game-winning goal in that third period. That was also his second of the game. Jacob Bro is having a phenomenal season, really stepping up for the Pioneers, and this hockey team is a force to be reckoned with. We know it has been since really we've learned what Utica is.
Yeah, number 2 in the country. Men's hockey's been great. One of the best since my 4 years being here. One of the best teams, if not the best team on campus. But especially, I don't know if you guys got to catch that Thursday game. It was awesome. It was a great game. I mean, first period alone, it was insane. 0-0 all throughout. Pioneers led the shot differential. I think it was like 24-6, like they usually do in the first. But one of those typical games that they've kind of had where like they have a lot of shots but can't finish them. And then with 18 minutes left to play, back-to-back goals. It was Morris and I believe Scoville back-to-back in a minute, within 60 seconds, both back-to-back scores. And then going into the second period, Naz came back 2 goals, and then with, again, like 17 minutes left in the period, back-to-back goals within a minute of each other. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's what the Pioneers can do. I mean, they're so versatile on the offensive side of the ice. I mean, the way I see it when I'm calling the game, it's a game of thirds. Obviously, you have the offensive zone, you have the neutral zone, you have your own defensive zone. Everything starts in your own D zone, and the Pioneers do a great job of breaking out of their own D zone and finding ways to hit the forwards on the wall, chip it up to the middle of the ice, and just attack the net from all fronts. That's something they have done fantastic, I believe, all season long. Their power play is great. Their one Achilles heel is the penalty kill, but it has been better. I mean, I called the game against Manhattanville 2 weeks ago with Ray. It was only a 1-0 game, or maybe a 2-1 game. I forget the final score, but they put up 40-something shots. And Ryan Piros, a new transfer goalie, transferred in from the University of Dubec, taking over the role of Ethan Roberts and Brian Landsberg. He's the new guy, and I mean, I saw him play one game. This kid's a stud.
Oh, yeah.
A 35, 36 save shutout his first game that I saw in person against Manhattanville, only giving up 5 goals to Nazareth, who was, again, at their cream of the crop up there with the Pioneers. They're a fantastic offensive team, and having a guy like Pierce between the pipes, who's only a freshman, he's listed as a freshman on the website. I mean, that is huge for this team. I mean, if you're a defenseman and you know, if I get beat, like obviously I don't want to get beat. I don't want to have to rely on my goalie to bail me out every single play. But this is a kid that can do it. He makes fantastic saves. He's fine. He's such an athletic kid, and having him between the pipes, I think, is really going to elevate the Pioneers for the rest of the way and allow them to hopefully bring home the NCAA trophy this year.
Yeah, it's been one that's definitely been a long time to make it. Do you think it's got a good chance this season with how the Pioneers have played so far? Jack, you've been in a lot of games too.
I've been to a couple of them. I wanted to go back to talk about the 2 really quick goals on Thursday. That was fun. I was there at that game. It was 2 goals within a couple seconds of each other at the end of the second period. And that kind of says, like, this team, like, seconds are winding down in that second period. You're kind of, like, getting ready to go into the intermission, take a little break, but this team's still fighting, and they're able to get not 1 to 2 in the last couple seconds. It's really a testament to what this team's doing. But anyway, I think this team is capable of going deep into the NCAA tournament. I think they're a team that's capable of doing that. They've shown that they're able to make it to that tournament year in, year out. It's just going to kind of be, can they get over that hump and make it further than they've done and get to that overall goal? I think they're capable of doing it. Will they? I can't tell you that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely hard to predict. I think one thing that's going to kind of take into factor is that last year's team that made it to the Frozen Four, that was a team that a lot of those guys played with each other for so long. Bro, Scoville, Zapata, all those guys. Like, they had a lot of guys that have played with each other for a while. This is a new team. This is a guy, you talked about Piros, transferred in halfway through the season. You know, that could be something that could cause some trouble, but at the same time, Gary Keenan's such a great coach. He'll be able to get his guys
At the end of the day, when Heenan has the reins, I mean, you trust him with everything. I mean, he's a fantastic coach. He's been doing it for so long. Again, this Pioneer team, like, year in, year out, you know they're always going to be one of the best teams in the conference, if not the best. It's a matter of getting over that hump and trying to bring home the trophy this year. I think this is the year they do it. It's a younger team, but it's like the sophomore class led by Eric Vitale. That's a group of guys who night in and night out can attack you in so many different ways. Jack, you mentioned the back-to-back goals late in the second period. That's what they do. Like, they jump on you, and they jump on you quick. They can get a couple scores within a couple seconds, a couple minutes of each other. And when you're on your heels and you're on defensive zone all the time in hockey, that's what the Pioneers do to other teams. They don't really let the other team breathe. It's tough when you're pinned in your own D zone for minutes on end and you have to ice the puck and you can't get it changed. That's what they do. That's what they've done all season. And I think if they can continue to do that throughout the rest of the season, into the playoffs, into the tournament, I think they definitely bring it home.
To go back to what you were saying, JB, about this kind of being a new team, I remember coming back for this semester and kind of seeing a whole bunch of new names I didn't recognize on the roster. The new goalie, like you were talking about, Jeremy. And that is, like, might not seem like a good thing. You're kind of shifting from what you've been used to and like a team that you know is good. I feel like it can even be a good thing, kind of like a refreshing aspect to the team. You got new players, new guys to work with, and hopefully that's the benefit we get with this team.
Absolutely. Going to be interesting to see how they finish out. We'll obviously talk about previewing a big game that's coming up this weekend for them. But another big game that's coming up this weekend, women's hockey is going to have some company at the Odd. Men's hockey will have some company at the Odd, as the women's hockey team will play their weekend series versus Manhattanville at the Adirondack Bank Center. Really exciting one to see them get in a big game at the Odd. Big series. Let's take a look at this series. Let's just preview what we think about our predictions are for this series coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the women's hockey team is one of the most underrated teams on campus. Like, you don't really hear much about them because I think that's because the men's team is just so dominant over the course of the past, 10, 20 years. But you look at this women's team, I called pretty much every game last year, and I've called a bunch of games this year. This team is fantastic. I mean, they lost their head coach in the offseason. So new head coach who has been in the program for a couple years. I believe she was at SUNY Canton before she came here. Was the assistant, now obviously the head coach. Lost a lot with graduate students and seniors last year. People like Erica Sloan, Carolyn Whitney. But you still have Angela Hawthorne between the pipes. And like I was talking about with Ryan Piros, you have someone like Angela Hawthorne between the pipes, you're going to be okay. And you have people stepping up this year like Casey Ryder. Casey Ryder's having a fantastic season. She scored an overtime goal in the first semester. I was calling a game with Mike against Nazareth. It was a game against Nazareth. It was a home and away. They were away on a Friday, home on a Saturday. They won. It was 2-1. Casey Ryder netted the OT winner against Nazareth. I feel like that's a defining moment of their season. Playing a really tough team like Nazareth, a team that has received votes this season. That's a big win. Nazareth is a great hockey team, both men's and women's. You find a way to beat them on your home ice. That's huge. And the way they did it in that game, again, I feel like that's the defining moment of their season. They don't quit. They don't give up. They scored in the second period, I believe. Nazareth came right back early in the third, tied it up. Obviously went to overtime. This women's hockey team, they have no quit. They're really gritty. They kind of remind me of the Detroit Lions. They're very, very gritty. And that's not something you want to play against if you're on the other side. This roster, again, loaded with talent. And I really think that having them on campus is really big for not only Utica hockey, but the campus itself. I mean, them being at the Odd this week, and I think it's great because being at the Nexus Center, with there being so many rinks there, you kind of forget about the women's hockey team being there. Now they're at the Odd. They're on the front stage of Utica hockey this weekend. I think that's awesome for them, and I really think that them being at the Odd will show everyone in Utica like how good this team really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a few stats, just the Pioneers, 12-5. Last game out, they lost to Oswego State last night by 3-2, but 15th in the country is Oswego State. So, definitely a tough loss, but, one of the better opponents they're going to play all season. Looking at the Valiants, they come in 4-11-2, coming off 5 straight losses. And we look at the all-time series. Pioneers lead the all-time series 12-10, so pretty close, but they do have an 8-6 record at home. And I think you brought up a good point. I think playing at the Odd is definitely going to amp them up.
Definitely.
I believe it's a code orange, so I think the whole crowd is going to get out the herd. We were talking about earlier, he's going to get real excited. So I think it's going to be a real exciting game. Definitely something that you folks back home don't want to miss this one. It's going to be a great one. I think the women will sweep this weekend, though.
I'm really excited for that. I'm calling the game in the Odd with Mike. I'm really excited for that game. I think, like you said, the energy is going to be there. I've mentioned a couple times so far in the show about all the other sports. I love energy. I think Utica's got a great energy system going in all their sports, and I think this one's going to be no exception to that.
Yeah, I love what Jeremy said earlier, too, about the no quit from the emotional win, as you said, on the Casey Ryder overtime win. And earlier in the opening season tournament, I think it was Elmira on an overtime goal. That was another big win. And you got JB, you mentioned it, Oswego State is no joke. So coming off of that loss is an emotional loss. A win there would have put them higher up in the rankings and it would have gave them a bunch of momentum. But how hard fought this team is, you got to imagine they're going to come back this weekend and get themselves a couple of wins.
Yeah, at the Odd on the biggest stage in Utica hockey, I think they sweep both games. I really think that they go BTA this week, little Amon-Ra St. Brown to the camera, this and that. I'm taking Utica hockey to sweep both games. They're on a 2-game winning streak all time in history against Manhattanville. You mentioned the record. Obviously, it looks like David versus Goliath, and I think Goliath will come away with the 2 wins this weekend. So shout out Utica women's hockey.
Real excited for those games. Also, a lot of exciting things happening on both the men's and women's wrestling side of things. They're going to have 2 meets this weekend, starting with the men. They're going to be traveling to Alfred State for the Alfred State group meet. Men's wrestling team stands 0-8 record so far this season, 5-5 for the Alfred State Saxons, I believe. No, maybe that's just Alfred. I don't know.
No, it's the Saxons.
Oh, they're both
Here
the
we go.
Saxons, right? That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Always
Yeah.
trust your gut.
Always trust
Never go off what the gut says.
Yeah, I got
Always trust your gut, JB.
I do have to.
You're a very smart guy,
I
right?
tend not to do that. But Alfred State coming off 2-meet win streak. Last time out, men's wrestling, they placed 8th in the SUNYAC championships, hosted by Cortland. Cortland Wrestling, what a program. I mean, Aljamain Sterling, former bantamweight champion. Obviously a USA fan, I had to throw that out there.
That's glazed. That's glazed.
But yeah, I mean, they're a great team. So they played a lot of great competition. But Pioneers, they're going to need a big performance in this one from former E8 Wrestler of the Week, Trevor Courtwright. This guy is just an absolute beast.
Courtwright's disgusting. I know recently he placed first. I don't know exactly what he placed first. I think it was the SUNYAC meet that he was doing, and he had a couple of matches. I think there were 4 that he was in, and didn't lose a single one of them.
Yeah,
I think he only let up 4 points. Like there were 3 opponents he just shut out completely. This dude's gross. He's insane.
Yeah.
Competing at 133 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too familiar with wrestling, but I do know that he's won Athlete of the Week here at Utica, and that's also a big deal. But his team isn't showing up too much. They haven't gotten a win overall, but he's definitely powering himself to the top of the leaderboards in every match that they have. He's definitely somebody to watch out for this weekend again.
Yeah, another guy I also want to talk about, though. I mean, this men's wrestling team is very underrated. When you go in, they got a lot of great guys on the roster. One of those being James Post.
That's our guy.
At 149
That's our
pounds.
guy.
James Post got a big win versus Philip Vene out of Oneonta State. He won by decision, recorded 2 takedowns and a 6-1 victory. So congrats to James Post. Like, this guy, former Army veteran, this guy's awesome. One of the best guys on campus.
Not even like wrestling, you could throw that away with him. Like, he's such a great human being.
He's awesome.
Like, I see him and just brightens my day. I remember I saw him before I went home for Christmas break. He's like, hey man, like, have a good break, hope a good time with your family. He's such a genuine dude. I remember New Year's Eve, he DM'd me on Instagram, was like, hey dude, just be safe tonight, like, be a leader, not a fight. Like, he's a genuine human being, and Jim Post, I mean, it's great seeing him succeed on the mat. Just had to throw that out there. He's such a great dude.
I love seeing him around campus. Always says hi. You see him once and he's saying hi to you forever. He's awesome.
He's
a
an awesome
genuine
guy.
guy, like you said.
Such a nice guy. But back to Courtwright, yeah, Jack, you were right. I mean, he went 4-0, only allowed 4 points in 4 matches. That's
Disgusting.
just insane. And, he's the first champion in the program's 2-year existence while totaling a 20-1 record overall this season. He's definitely been, this program only been around for 2 years. And he's somebody that I feel like this program can kind of build around and build this into, a Cortland. He could be the next Aljamain Sterling. You never know.
He's next John Cena.
That's John Cena.
I know we were all talking to Dave Fontaine last night.
Yeah.
He was kind of talking about the new programs that were initiated just a little while ago, and I think it was kind of a big moment for this new program. Gymnastics being another one that's also done a pretty successful season. I know we're going to talk about, but I think Courtwright's definitely making a name for Utica wrestling and its newer program.
Yeah, real excited. Wishing them luck as they travel to Alfred State this weekend. On the women's wrestling side of things, they're going to be traveling to Frostburg State out in Maryland in the Bobcat Open, and this is a team, really good team, 5-8 overall, with a 5-8 overall record on a 3-meet win streak versus a 10-1 Frostburg State team. This is definitely going to be an exciting one for the women's wrestling team too. Definitely a big match coming up for them. Looking forward to watching that. So congrats to both the men's and women's wrestling teams on former matches. Looking forward to seeing how they compete this weekend. And then let's talk about your gymnastics, Jack. Women's gymnastics, yet another team. Dave Fontaine talked about it with us for a little while. Gymnastics team finished second in the Utica Quad. Let's look at some notable performances in that meet. Definitely got to talk about the 188.275 points. Came in second in the Utica Quad this past Sunday. Really great team, and a team that hasn't been around for long, too, like we talked about.
Yeah, I know one of the notable names on that team, Grace Mara, someone who's really good, I think, and just all around, able to put up points in just about everything and do everything really well. That's really important to have, especially in like a new program like this. You don't really want to like focus on one specific thing and get one thing. You kind of want to be able to be kind of a jack of all trades and be able to do everything pretty well. I think that's what Grace Mara is bringing to this new program.
Yeah, I think it's amazing too. As you said, along with the wrestling team, they're both such new programs. It's cool how they're just building, and they're getting better as they go. I think they broke the program record this weekend for highest amount of points. I think you said that. And as you said, Grace Mara leading the charge, just like Courtwright of wrestling. It's cool how the programs are so new, but they have that one star to build around. And I'm excited to see. I think they're going to Rutgers this weekend, right? Yeah, so definitely an exciting match for them too, playing performing on the Big Ten Network. A big deal for them, and I'm happy for them that they just keep building and building off of what they started last year.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to travel to Rutgers this weekend
That's cool.
for the Rutgers February quad. Like I said, Big Ten Network, and then they got another match or meet coming up versus, I believe it is Cornell, that they're going to play on ESPN Plus. So.
Well, I do have bad news. Unfortunately, this weekend, Notar and I won't be able to set up the gymnastics meets like we did last weekend.
You guys helped set up?
We set
We
it
did,
up.
and
We
cleaned it
set
up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But no, again, shout out to them. I mean, freak athletes. Those girls, they do things that I don't even think is possible.
So impressive.
Actually, last year, myself and Tim Martin were the baseball sack reps for Utica Sac. And last year there was this fundraiser for Utica Gymnastics, and we were the only like Utica athletes to go. It was kids and then Tim and I. So at first, it was a little weird being in there, just like the only 2 college guys in there. But the team was really welcoming. They let us stay and just jump around on like every mat, try everything. It was really cool, and a lot of respect to them and what they do, and how hard that sport really is. I mean, you look at it on TV and they make it look easy, but it's not. Again, a school record in points, finished second in the meet against 3 other great gymnastics teams. Again, traveling to Rutgers this weekend. It's going to be a great season for them, and as you guys mentioned, it's a big stepping stone for them, setting that mark, and I really think it's something they can build off of the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think they only had 1, maybe there were 2 home meets on the Utica campus, and I hope in the future that they can do more, because I'd definitely like to go to. I haven't been to one yet, but I'd really like to, because I hope that gymnastics kind of culture in Utica can grow, because there's definitely a lot of potential there.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. They had a very successful meet this past weekend. Looking forward to how they do in Rutgers. Another team that had a great meet was both the men's and women's track teams, track and field teams. They competed in the St. Lawrence Invitational. Let's take a closer look at how both teams fared in this meet. So looking at the men's side, they finished second place, 165 points for them, led by Bennett Milito, who began the meet with an incredible finish in the 5,000 meter, finished with 15:16:36, broke the current indoor program record. Just an incredible show. I mean, you're a track and field guy. You just know that's crazy numbers, right?
Yeah, Bennett's insane. If you know anything about Utica and running, you know the name Bennett. He was an All-American. He's making like the national tournaments in cross country, so everyone kind of saw that and expected these kind of performances out of him. Come into the at least the indoor track and field, and then outdoor is going to be insane because that's where he strives. That's where he does his thing. So that school record from Bennett doesn't even surprise me. It's kind of the thing that I expected from him.
Yeah. Track and field is the team that I feel like every season we see a new record broken. It's a program that I think just keeps building off of what they do in past years. Always setting new program records. I mean, you've had the great privilege of being a part of that team. What's it like?
It's definitely a lot of fun. We obviously are going into the season losing Jane Fahey, who's probably one of the best athletes in the history of Utica. We talked, again, Dave Fontaine was talking about her last night, saying second in the country at the national meet last year outdoors. So she is insane. Definitely was a huge loss to the program. But again, we've still got a lot of good athletes on this team. Hunter Logan being one of them. He's probably going to be an All-American again. Bennett Milito, insane runner. There's a lot of athletes that are really capable of doing a lot of incredible stuff this season.
Yeah, I was about to talk about Hunter Logan. 15.5 meter throw on the shot put. Yet another crazy numbers. He's such a great guy, too. Great guy on campus. Somebody that I feel like a lot of people always see around, and All-American. So
he's
awesome. A lot
awesome.
of great guys. Yeah.
I remember when I first transferred here, I didn't know anybody, so I was just kind of meeting everybody. And I remember I met him. He's one of the first people I met, and 6'7", like 200-something pounds. He is a massive human being.
Yeah.
He's as nice as they come. He's awesome. He's hilarious. But yeah, he can throw that shot put really far though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean the track team, another team with freak athletes on their team. Obviously, Hunter Logan, Mackenzie Mix, Tanner Warren, Utica baseball guy.
Tanner Warren's fast.
Yeah, Tanner flies. He's a freak. I mean, again, just a group of insanely talented athletes. And our campus, I mean, we talked to Fontaine last night in class. He said we're a school that has 700-ish student athletes. I mean, that's a crazy number, especially being a D3 school in the Northeast. I mean, our track and field athletes on both the men's and women's side, they get it done like you mentioned, every year. There seems like a couple records being broken, either indoor, outdoor track, whatever it is. It feels like there's always something going on with this track program here in Utica. And I think, it's a program that continues to just build and rebuild on itself and makes it even better every year.
Another record I think got broken. It was a couple of weeks ago. It was either the 4x4.
Not to toot your own horn, but
It was either the 4x4 or the 4x2. I don't remember exactly which one, but Ellis Urgent, Andy Hayes, I want to say Tanner Warren, maybe Shane Tinney. maybe don't quote me on that, but that sounds like what would have been a 4x4 or 4x2. One of those records did get broken also.
Oh, I thought you said you broke it.
Oh, I didn't.
I'm sorry.
I'm not doing anything.
No, shout out to. I thought you were.
No, I don't do anything.
Bragging about yourself. I have enough of that. So.
But yeah, looking at the women's side of things, they finished first in the Saints Holiday Relays out in St. Lawrence. 207 points for them. Great performance from them. A lot of great finishes, especially in the 200 meter. Got to look at the performance from Ariana McClendon with a time of 27.70. Really great performance from her. And this track and field team, both men's and women's, anytime I'm down at the Dome playing basketball or anything, they're always working hard. Real team that really works for it. It pays off. First and second place finishes.
Yeah, washed up JB needs to play pick up basketball against Nick Hastings to feel good about himself.
No.
Ariana McClendon, though, is someone that I always see. I'm down at the Dome pretty frequently, and she is someone that is always there working, training really hard to break these kind of records, and she is definitely going to have a big season as well.
Yeah, those long distance runs that they do. I mean, I'll be playing basketball, one game of pickup, I'm gassed. These women, they're just running around the track.
I can't
boom,
do it
boom,
either,
boom.
yeah.
It's crazy.
I can't
so
do that.
impressive for them. Great finish for them. Congratulations to both the men's and women's team. Looking forward to seeing how they finish their season. Now, for the last segment of this show, let's go around the table and give our picks for this upcoming week. A lot of big games coming up, so let's give our picks for these upcoming games. All right, starting off, men's basketball. They're going to play St. John Fisher Friday night. Let's go around the table. Let's give a preview of these games.
I'll start. So, men's basketball against Fisher, as you said, big viral sensation coming into town. You got to believe that Mega Court will be packed. A lot of their home games, they always have a big crowd there. I think they will win this one. They won on the road against Fisher. Hagen Foley had a career day that game. I think with the way Dayion Thompson's playing right now, and you give the home court advantage, Utica always plays well at Mega Court, and the way that Dayion Thompson's playing and how Hagen had a game against Fisher earlier in this year, I think Utica does win this one and bounce back from the loss against Poly and gets themselves a big one.
Yeah, I'm going to snowball it up, Justin. I'm taking Utica. I mean, one loss, I don't think kind of defines the team. I mean, you give up 90-plus points, whatever, move on, shake it off. Again, you bring in Big Cozy into Mega Court this week. You know the herd's going to be rowdy. This is a big, big game for the men's basketball team. I'm going to look at the camera and say this. If they lose, I will break this mug over Jack's head.
Don't do that.
They're not going to lose. The Utica men's basketball is going to beat St. John Fisher this weekend, and they will just continue to climb the ranks of the Empire and find a way to get themselves back into tournament contention.
Jack, I'd wear some head protection because
No,
this
they're not
is a
going to
game.
lose.
They're
not going to lose.
It's
my moral.
I'm telling you, this is going to be a close game. This is a St. John Fisher team that's going to come in with a fire under their butt. They're a team that came off of an 82-80 loss at home versus their crosstown rival Nazareth, in which Jalen Savage, player for the Golden Flyers, hit a game-winning shot with just seconds left. It was an insane finish on Big Cozy. They're going to come in. They're going to come in hot.
Better than their record, too.
They're definitely better than their record says, too. They've played great in conference. This is a team that this is a conference that every team is around the same shot. They do shoot 31% from three, which isn't a great margin, which the Pioneers are going to hopefully have to take advantage of after getting threes rained on them last night. And they're a team that also lost their best player in Dan Cook, guy who has terrorized Utica for a long time, has Dan Cook in his 5 years with the program. Thankfully, we no longer have to see him. But kind of a transition year, 6-12 overall record, 2-7 overall record in conference play. But like you said, they're definitely a team that's not defined by their record. They're a team that plays really tough. And one of the guys we talked about, Pioneers are going to have to stop Big Cozy. Connor Williams stands 7 foot, 360 pounds, averaging 16 points per game and 7 rebounds, 30% from three. And you saw a guy like Henry Perkins when we'll talk about that Hartwick game again. A guy who stood 6'8", big guy, weren't really able to stop him. Had a 20-point double-double. Big Cozy might be doing the same thing. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be interesting, too, to see who Coach Sean Coffey puts up against him. I mean, Teague is a better body for him, but Call is quicker, so it's going to be interesting to see, do they go mass or quickness? It's going to be interesting, and I'm happy I'm on the call, and I'm expecting a great game Friday night. Friday Night Hoops again at Mega Court.
You also got Iggy on the bench, so I know I was talking
I was about to say,
yes.
I was talking to you the other night. I forget who they played. Was it Hartwick they played the other night? They had Iggy in the first half. You said he played really well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Iggy get some minutes and try to lock up Big Cozy. And we found this out maybe, 2 hours ago. Dayion College is on the chase for 1,000 points. I think he's going to come out and he's going to shoot the lights out of the gym. I only, 3, maybe 4 home games left for him. I think Jordan, our SID said it's like 25 points a game at home for the next 3 games in order to hit it at a Utica home game.
That'd be insane.
Yeah, why not start off with a bang this weekend and drop 40? Why not?
It'd be awesome.
Catch
but
fire.
I think it's definitely going to come down to how Coach Sean Coffey coaches this game. I'd like to see Iggy Azebo get some good minutes. But if they can't stop Big Cozy, I think Fisher leads. That'll lead St. John Fisher to a big win. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with the St. John Fisher Cardinals to upset the Pioneers at home.
Jack,
I'm
watch your
telling
head.
you,
Jack.
Big Cozy.
Watch your head, Jack.
Big
Watch your
Cozy.
head.
He's coming. He's coming.
I'm glad that I'm not going to be the only one because I was going to go with you. It was easy for us to sit here with all this Utica gear. You're all wearing Utica merch. I think it'd be easy for us to all say Utica, but I think the St. John Fisher team is really good. I'm also being threatened by Jeremy, so I feel like I have to fight that.
Yeah,
and
so
say
now
something.
it's like you want to get hit in the head with the mug.
I've also got to give some credit to St. John Fisher. I was transferring, and Utica and St. John Fisher were both options for me, so I'm going to take St. John Fisher, and if they lose, I'm breaking this one over your head.
The mug is getting broken regardless.
Someone's getting hurt.
All right, let's move on to the next big game. It's a big weekend for the men's basketball team. They're going to play Nazareth, #1 team in the conference. Sit 13-5 overall record, 8-1 in conference play. Starting with you, Justin, what do you think that your predictions are for this game on Saturday?
This is a hard one because I think this one also has a lot to depend on what happens Friday. But last week, Friday, the emotional win with Dayion Thompson's buzzer beater, you don't expect them to get over that emotional win and go on the road to Russell Sage, who was, I think, 2 in the conference at that point. And then they beat them by 10-plus points. That was an emotional win, quick recovery, and then another emotional win. I think depending on how it goes Friday, it could depend a lot how it goes Saturday. But, I mean, coming off of this loss against Poly, I don't think they're going to sweep this weekend. I'm going to sadly take Nazareth. I would love for Utica to win in that. But the way Nazareth is playing basketball right now, they look hard to stop. And Utica looks like they still have a couple of things to clean up. So I will take the split on the weekend for Utica. I think they win Friday against St. John Fisher, but lose Saturday.
I like what you brought up about the emotional win. I mean, you see it all the time in college sports. College basketball, I mean, I think we see it the most. I mean, you have these teams, D1, D2, D3, they go into these hostile environments and come out with a win. It's tough to carry that over to the next game, especially come back home. There's an emotional letdown. But like we saw with the Pioneers last night against Poly at home, I mean, it's a tough spot situationally because you're riding that emotional high, and it can only last for so long. I think last night we saw them kind of plateau out, and I think I'm picking them to beat Fisher on Friday. I think the emotions they ride high on Friday night, and it's gonna go even higher. They're beating Naz on Saturday too.
Wow.
I mean, you get 1, you get 2.
I like that. I like that a
See,
lot.
JB likes it.
I like it.
Shout out to Kirk Cousins, you like that.
But last time this season, Pioneers lost 83-60 to Nazareth. Great team. They couldn't find their groove in that game.
On the road, they were on the road.
They were on the road,
Oh, so
yeah.
bounce back revenge spot.
They shot 20 for 52 from the field, 38%, 5 for 25 from 3. That's a 20% margin. They did not shoot the ball very well, but they were getting a lot of shots, 50 shots, 25 from 3. This is exactly why that I think, although they're going to lose to St. John Fisher, I think the Pioneers bounce back and win.
Wow.
Because I think that this is a team that shooting percentage has risen. It's seen growth, right? Risen.
So you're saying they're due for some positive regression then?
I'm positive, yeah, but I'm saying I
Yeah.
feel like the way how they've shot the ball as of recently, I think if they get the same amount of shots, they can get 50 shots, 25 from 3, they're going to start to hit 10, 15 of those.
Yeah.
And if they hit those, that game turns from 83 to 60 to 83 to maybe 85, whatever it is. I think the Pioneers are going to outshoot them, and as well as I think that the guard play has become really good. Jalen Savage is probably Nazareth's best player, their point guard.
It's such a cool name.
Yeah, rookie of the year a couple years ago in the Empire. Yeah, great player.
Name of the year gotta be.
Yeah, up
He's
there
on the
for
all-time
that.
Great guard play this weekend.
Yeah, he's a great player, but I feel like, again, Dayion Thompson, 25 steals. He's a guy that could give him a lot of trouble, force a lot of turnovers. Same with Levi Spina. So I think the Pioneers are going to get a big win. Although they're going to lose to Fisher, I feel like that's what this team's built around. They're built around good guard play, not so great down low defensively. So I think that's why the matchup just matches up better versus Nazareth. They get the win versus the Golden Flyers.
I swear I'm not just trying to copy the picks that you're taking, but I was going to also pick Nazareth. I was going to take St. John Fisher, and then I was going to take Utica over Nazareth. So I was going to pick that. I'm not just trying to copy your picks. But again, I think the same thing. I think there's going to be a little bit more of a fire lit after a loss to St. John Fisher, if that's what ends up happening. And I think there's going to be more in the game against this first place Nazareth team.
this side of the table. We're just on the same wavelength.
We're on the same
It's on the
brainwaves right now.
wavelength.
That's
Yeah.
what sucks about going fourth out of four. Like, it just seems like you're
I'm just
copying everybody. I know
copying
you're not.
somebody
But
So
that's what it looks like.
so you're taking the Utica sweep?
I'm taking the Utica sweep.
I would love a Utica sweep. I think they're gonna fight close on Saturday. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout, especially once again at Meaga Court. And I remember the game that last year against Nazareth at Meaga Court. You couldn't move, so expect the same crowd, and it's gonna be a showdown.
I mean, if you guys are saying at the worst they split, I think that's a win in itself.
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
Face
I don't think
these
they're not
two
gonna get
teams.
swept.
If they sweep with these two teams coming up, that's huge. But I think they get both.
No, I agree with
And if
you.
they get both, I mean that completely
on how
propels
Ride
the
that
season.
high.
Yeah.
Depending on how Poly does, they can finish first in the conference.
Poly's a good team. I mean, again, new to the conference too. Like, for Poly, you're coming on the road as a new team in the conference. You want to show everybody up. Like, you want to go in there. You want to drop 100 points on their head. That's what you. I mean, that's what I would want if I'm a new team in the conference. Granted, they play Utica every year in every sport, but now first year in Empire 8, I mean, you expect them to come out and play hard and play with fire. I think the Pioneers kind of just shake that off and go into this weekend ready to go. I mean, you have, again, 2 marquee matchups this weekend. Like you guys mentioned, great guard play. I think Dayion leads the charge. I think Damian Call starts, draining buckets. And and Hagen Foley, I mean, he can shoot from anywhere on the court. You get him the ball in open space. He needs just a little bit of room. It's going in.
50%.
I don't
Yeah,
think anyone
so-
was prepared for how good SUNY Poly was. Like, I know we were watching the game last night. We kind of saw the score and we were like, whoa. Like, no, like everyone knew SUNY Poly was a good basketball team, but I
We
don't
didn't
think
know,
anyone
like, how
was
good they
prepared
were,
for
yeah.
like. I think they were down
yes.
like
Yeah.
15 or 20 at some point. Like, no one was really
Yeah.
prepared for that. So I think that's going to kind of play
Like
a factor.
getting run out of your own home gym is never a good feeling.
No.
I played church league basketball back in my heyday. So
That,
we had,
that during the hockey
You know
days
from
too.
experience.
no, hockey days are different. But hey, like CYO church league basketball team, we got run over our own home gym every once in a while. Wasn't a good
for the
feeling.
best of
We were horrible. But
How do you guys think Coffey's gonna game plan against Big Cozy? Because we did mention Iggy, but
yeah.
I hope it's Iggy.
how
Yeah,
long
he's the
do you
biggest
think
guy.
they ride that wave?
I
'Cause
think it depends on how he starts. I think if he starts shooting, like there's games where, if you watch Connor Williams, there's games where he'll shoot.
Yeah, he can shoot the three ball well.
Yeah, so I think it's one of those games he's shooting the ball. You want a faster guy like T, but if it's one of those games he's posting up, he's just going up big on T. You got to put in Iggy. I think it's gonna come down to how Fisher comes out. I think.
Yeah, Iggy could play a really big role. He did but he only played in the first half, right?
Only played 5
Yeah.
minutes the first half. Didn't play
Yeah,
much.
Probably comes down to
But he
foul
played
trouble
great.
too.
Yeah, could
Yeah.
see more
Like-
minutes from him.
Like say T picks up 2 early fouls in the first half, you're gonna have to go to the bench. You're gonna have to make it switch to like Call, like you mentioned, or you get Iggy in the lineup. You said Iggy had a great game against Hartwick, defensively at least.
Yeah.
And why not give him a chance? He's on the team. He's in his junior season. Why not? Like he's a good player. He's on the team for a reason.
Is Iggy the tallest guy on the roster?
He's huge. Like
Yeah,
he's
he's
seven-
I think-
yeah.
I think that's a game too where St. John Fisher is going to need their. You said they can't shoot the 3 ball well, right? Their percentage is really low.
31% from
Right.
three,
So I think that's a game too where Utica is going to think like you got to trap Big Cozy when he gets down low because Utica doesn't really have all that size in their original starting lineup, like a lot of size and mass. I guess Teague's your best guy, but if he gets in foul trouble, you're going to have to start trapping and that's going to lead to open shooters on the outside. It's going to be, I think, if they can hit those shots, maybe they do pull off the road win. But definitely going to be an interesting and close game.
Yeah, let's move on. Another St. John Fisher basketball game. Women's basketball will be playing before the men's. Second place in the Empire 8 stand the Cardinals on the women's side of things. 12-4 overall record, 9-0 in conference play. Like we said, Pioneers sit 11th with a 3-15 record on the season, 1-8 in conference play. Justin, starting with you, what's the game picks?
Get this guy on top of me.
Not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but the way that Utica 1-7 in conference play entering last night, and so was Poly. I think they lost by maybe 8 yesterday. I just can't see them beating Fisher, recovering from that. They're not playing their greatest right now, and Fisher undefeated in conference play. That's unbelievable. I think Fisher might come in this one and roll in Meaga Court and get themselves a win in that beginning half of a doubleheader.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I mean, women's basketball kind of an up and down season. You're playing a team like St. John Fisher. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers right here on your paper. 12-4 overall, 9-0 in conference play. I think they moved to 10-0. And Pioneers again, it's a regroup spot for them. It's a tough year for them, and you welcome me in a fantastic St. John Fisher's women's basketball team. I think they take it, and Fisher wins one of the 2 games this weekend.
Yeah, this is a St. John Fisher team that's won multiple Empire 8 championships since I've been here. Really great team. I feel like for the women's team, they're going to have to try and rely on not only Vanessa Hall, but they're going to have to try and rely on moving the ball around. I think if they can find good looks for players like Mackenzie Simmons, Kate Mahoney as a guard, more great guard play, I feel like they can make this one close, but I just think the Cardinals are just a little too overpowering. I'm going to go with St. John Fisher in this one.
I'm taking St. John Fisher as well. I think
That was quick.
they've.
It's a sweep.
I think the records, the numbers, you obviously don't want to rely on the numbers entirely if you're taking picks like this, but I think they're too much to argue with, I think.
Maybe it'll be on like freezing cold takes. We'll have the graphic and have all four of us.
Yeah.
I hope so. I
That'd be,
really do.
That'd be sick. It'd be awesome.
Maybe we
but-
can be bulletin board material like Coach Coffee called Jeff, James, and Zeke 2 years ago. He called their articles in Tangerine bulletin board material. Maybe no, maybe
This is the
that's us now.
inspiration. This is
I hope that's us.
This is the motivation, but I think I want to say Hartwick was the first Empire 8 victory that Utica had gotten,
Yeah.
and I unfortunately don't see this being the second.
Yeah. All right. They also play Nazareth. Another just tough break for them. They got the third best team in the conference. Right after playing the second best team, they got to play the third best team the next night. 13-5 overall, 8-1 in conference play. Just to start with you, what do you think?
And it's a hard weekend for them. You come off of playing Hartwick, Sage, and Poly, who are three beatable opponents. They only went 1-2 in those 3 games, and now you're facing the weekend with Nazareth and Fisher. They have good basketball teams. They just have a good basketball program, men and women. So just a hard draw or weekend rather for the Pioneers. I see the men handling it well, but I think the women's team is going to go 0-2, sadly. Once again, I hope we're on freezing cold takes. I hope they get themselves a win and try to fight for a playoff push, but I just don't see it happening, especially with the way that Naz and Fisher are playing basketball right now. I just can't see Utica getting themselves a win over them.
Yeah, it's a really tough scheduling spot. It's kind of like DePaul having to play Creighton and UConn back-to-back games. It's tough. It's really, really tough scheduling spot. I do think Nazareth will pull away in the second half of that game and walk out with a win. But, I mean, I think the women's basketball team, it's kind of a weekend to learn, like, what do we got, you know? We're facing 2 of the best teams in the conference. What do we have? Let's, give it our all. And if they can do that, I mean, I think you come away with at least something,
Yeah, I think, like I said, the same thing is going to come down to offensively. I think they're going to have to score to beat Nazareth, but overall, same type of thing. Second best team in the conference, third best team in the conference, back-to-back. It's just tough schedule. I'm going to go with Nazareth.
I see it being a little bit closer of a game than I think anyone's expecting. I still think Naz is going to take it, but I think it's going to be a close one. I'm expecting kind of a good second half from the Pioneers. I think they game plan really well. Coach Michelle Davis, I don't know what she says at halftime, but I kind of want that kind of halftime speech, that kind of motivation, because whatever she says works. They come out of the locker room after the half, almost seems like a different team. So I'm expecting a good second half, and I think a little bit closer of a game, but I do think the Golden Flyers are going to take it.
Back moving on to the ice, we previewed women's hockey. We all on the same page. We got with the Pioneers with that one. Finishing out here, our game picks. Men's hockey versus SUNY Brockport. Big game coming up on Saturday. Starting with you, Justin. What do you got?
I'm going to take the Pioneers. They're on a roll right now. We talked about their goalie play and their offense. They're playing well on all 3 portions of the ice, as you said. I don't know too much about hockey, but it's definitely a pleasure to watch this team play. They're so good, and I can't see them losing this Saturday. I'll take Utica.
Yeah, I mean, I just pulled up the men's hockey thing on my phone over there. We have Jacob Rowe, who won the UCHC Player of the Week. You have Ryan Piros, who won UCHC Goalie of the Week.
Awesome.
I mean, this is a Utica team. I talked so highly of them before. That's not going to change. They beat Brockport. I talked to new Brockport Eagle Jason Story last week. He said Brockport hockey isn't like Utica hockey is, and he hit the nail on the head with that one. Utica steamrolls past Brockport and just continues to move the ranks in the UCHC.
Definitely going to be interesting. I feel like for Brockport, if they want to win this game, they're going to have to score first. Pioneers have not played from behind a lot this season. So I think if Brockport can get on the board, they could be leading themselves to a big upset win. But I doubt that happens with Ryan Piros in the polls. I think Utica gets another big win. They beat Brockport earlier on this season. Definitely a different team than we saw in that game than this one. Yeah. But I do still think that Pioneers get the big win at home.
I'm taking the same thing. I'm never really going to bet against the Pioneers when it comes to hockey. I think they're always a really fun team to watch. I always have a really good time watching them play hockey. And again, like you said with Piros, he's been so much fun to watch. Yeah. Probably the most confident I felt in a goalie for Utica in probably a while. Again, I loved Ethan Roberts. I think Landsberger's also a really good goalie, but Piros is just a different breed.
And that's also the problem with them. Like, they have so many talented guys. Like, which one do you play? You know what I mean? Like, obviously Roberts and Landsberger the past year and a half, 2 years-ish. It's like, can you really go wrong picking either of them? Now you bring in Piros, Roberts leaves. It's like, can you really go wrong playing either Piros or Roberts? Utica beat Brockport 5-2 and 5-1 early in the year. That's your matchups. 5-2 was at home, 5-1 on the road. They start off this weekend in Brockport and then finish it off at home Saturday night. I believe it's Ray Biggs and Riley Calhoun on the call for that game, so tune into that for sure. Again, walk in your trap, take over your trap. We did it last time. It's home away from home. Pioneers, take both.
All right. Yeah, one more point, Justin. Go ahead.
If Utica loses, I'm smashing this mug over Jeremy's head.
That mug is staying
I think we can all
solid.
agree on that one.
Yeah.
We can all agree on that
I'll
one.
smash over.
We're gonna need to buy some more mugs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we might need some
I
more
feel like
mugs.
Stu Finer.
All right, well, that'll just about do it here for us. Make sure you like and subscribe down below. We'll be here again next week with more insight on everything Utica sports. Thank you all so much for watching. And always remember to fear the moose.
That was fun.
That was fun.